Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Team Tuesday, this week with Rafał Witaszek. Hey Rafa, welcome back.
Hey Vasco, welcome back.
So, it's a pleasure to have you here to talk about, I think, a topic that I feel greatly and I feel passionate about, which is teams and their behaviors affect the success that we can enact as Scrum Masters. We call this episode the Teams That Self-Destruct episode. We'll get into that in a second. But before we dive into that story, do share with us, Rafał, what's the book that most inspired you in your career as a Scrum Master?
Mm-hmm. So, yes, I'm a bookworm. I love to read books, and I think that is a great source of inspiration and new knowledge to get to. So it was really not easy to find just one book to mention here. So I mentioned one book that is related to the story from yesterday, and this is creating an alignment and starting with the team. It's The First 90 Days by Michael D. Watkins. So just mention this book here, not going very much into details, but I believe it's really great book for someone who is in transition to the new position, either by promotion or joining the company. I think this is, you will get nice checkpoints to do not miss on something might be obvious, but make sure that you cover the top things there. But the book that really inspired me and changed many things in positive way in my life is something that I know appeared on your show already. It's Atomic Habits by James Clear. Yes, that was something that really changed the way how I operate and how I work in my personal and both professional life. I believe that the power of habits, and it really easily translates in the team, how the team works. So it's about focusing our energy on the things that we can affect and trying to be better by 1% every time. So looking on what we are doing, how we are investing our time, where we put our effort and energy, and make sure that the energy is well utilized in our good to get better.
Absolutely. I really like that idea, that visualization, perhaps, if you will, of getting better 1% every day. Because if you do get better 1% every day, by the end of the year, you will be a lot more than 300% better. But it does need to become a habit. And I think it's great that you mentioned Atomic Habits by James Clear. We'll put the link on the show notes, as well as to the First 90 Days book that you mentioned, so that people can go and easily find that book. Now, the reason why we focus on this small improvements all the time, like you just mentioned, is because we want to help teams succeed. But sometimes they fail despite our best efforts. And usually that happens because they develop certain patterns that we're slow to recognize. And when we do recognize, it's too late to change anything. So it's very important for us to understand what are those habits, what are those patterns, or anti-patterns as we call them, and also how they start developing. So walk us through a story of a team, Rafał. Tell us a little bit about the context of the story, but then walk us through how that behavior or pattern developed over time that ultimately led to problems.
Sure. So that was the time when I joined the team that and an organization that was a huge organization with thousands of people, and they were undergoing the transition and transformation to Agile. And as we probably know, it's not easy process to get there. So the team that I was joining was doing lots of operational work. They were doing some type of Scrum, at least they claimed that they are doing, and the team was organized among the components and not the products itself. And that was the time when I first time joined the team that is operating on the DevOps side. So I was able to see how the backend systems of, let's say, software delivery and development works. So that was the context of this story. And what was challenging there is the team had lots of hidden work. So we are talking about when I look back at that situation, I think that we were missing some basics of Scrum with regards to the Scrum values and pillars. So there were not enough transparency in the team. So there were lots of hidden work. And I believe that maybe only 20-30% of the work was visible on our Agile board. So people very often were busy with things that are not visible and not transparent. And because
Can
of
you
that,
tell us how you found out that the percentage of visible work was so little? Like, what were the things that started to tell you, I should look into this? And how did you find out it was so low?
So that was not exceptional, that by the end of the sprint, when we delivered something between 20 and 10 or 20% sometimes items that we brought to the sprint, at the end of the sprint, when we had the retrospective, there were many, let's say, votes and voices that we did really great job during that sprint. So people, the team members, developers, product owner were happy about the progress that we made. But if you just look purely on our board, it was totally not visible that we delivered such great work during that time. So we only exposed some part of information about the work that we are doing, but not all of it. And because of that, we did not have a chance to inspect and adapt on the things that actually took the lots of time from the team and lots of effort. So that was something that was, let's say, stopping us from making great progress in self-improvement.
Yeah, and not only that, so I imagine that it also made it impossible, if not almost impossible, to find out what we can deliver during the sprint. Like you said, like only 10 to 20% of things were delivered that were committed to the sprint. That also points to a lot of things that were, you call them invisible, but also to a lot of things that were interrupts, so interruptions that may be related to problems, but because we don't talk about it, we don't even know what the problems were, right? Like we just react and we do stuff and, we get stuff to the finish line, but we never know what those things are. I'm reminded there was a special episode some time ago where we talked about Jeff Campbell and one of his colleagues, I'll put the link on the show notes, making this effort to make all the work visible. And it was not trivial to make all the work visible, but it was only because of that they were able to find a lot of other things that were going on and interrupting the team and, of course, preventing them from improving. So, of course, the next question is, Rafał, how did you turn that around? Like, how did you help the team realize that it was so little that they were doing from what they had thought at the start of the sprint they could do?
So one of the things that we introduced in the team, we had a user story that was called just unplanned work. And under this user story, everyone who was working on something that takes you more than half a day, this item was reported. And then to that item, we create also some metadata, some kind of information that we can then reuse and then optimize if we find a bigger pattern that appears from that. So we add information like automation, and that item was potential for, let's say, automation, or for example, delegation, because the team was busy really with lots of operational work. That was the nature of the team. And when we identified those items that we can, let's say, delegate, and delegation was done through, for example, better specification, so that we can create some, for example, process that we can hand over to L2 people, that they were really able to address them by themselves and solving their own problems instead of interrupting the team. That was one of the things. Or automation through standardization. So if something was not clear because we had single person dependency, because the knowledge was not transferred, we specified the process, what it takes to solve this type of problem. And then maybe not everyone, but more than one person in the team could take care and address the problems that were identified by the end user of the application. So that was the optimization that we find out to open this black box that we had within the team. So it helped a bit, of course, but at the end, it was not, let's say, 100% perfect that was expected. But yeah, perfection is it's not an option very often.
It's a habit, right? As we were talking about it a moment ago.
Small improvement, 1%, and we'll get better at some time. So
absolutely. And I think this is a great example as one of the anti-patterns that catch our teams out and cause problems, non-visible work. The way I usually phrase it to the clients that I work with is, if you can't see it, you can't manage it. And it's so obvious when you say it, but a lot of the times people don't realize that by not explicitly putting that work on the board, they're ignoring the possibility of saying no to it, right? If the work is on the board, you can't say no to it. You have to do it because it's on your email or on your Slack or Discord or whatever app you use for communications at the company. So a great story and a great reminder that making work visible is one of the responsibilities that Scrum Masters must take seriously.
When we had this example, this is yet another way where we can use the iceberg visualization. When we only present what is on top of the water, maybe we are addressing the problems or trying to solve problems that actually are not the problems, because real problems are hidden and our actions are really not addressing the root cause that we should take care of.
Absolutely. A great addition. Thank you for that, Rafał.
Thank you, Vasco.
Tuesday is Team Day here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. But tomorrow we talk about something that goes beyond the work we do with the teams. We will talk about how to lead change and what our guests have learned from leading and participating in change programs during their career. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.